You thought the season was over? You thought firing Kingsbury and Witt was the end of the story? Let me tell you something. What just happened in Baltimore could blow up the entire Commanders all season, and I'm not exaggerating. We're talking about moves that could shape the next 5 years of this franchise. An offensive coordinator fired over beef with the head coach, a legendary coach suddenly on the market, and a hole in the offense that could cost millions to fix if you bounce. Now, you're going to regret it, because what's coming could flip everything. We thought we knew about this team's future. Today we're breaking down 3 stories that have the entire DMV buzzing. And when I say breaking down, I mean we're going deep. We're going to look at every angle, every consequence, every decision Adam Peters has to make right now. Look, I know what some of y'all are thinking. Marcus, what are you talking about? Dan Quinn just led us to a 12-5 season. And you're right. But let me ask you this. How often in NFL history does a coach like John Harbaugh hit the market? How often does a guy with a Super Bowl ring, years of quarterback development, and a proven track record of success become available? The Ravens let him go. And I can't believe I'm saying this, but Baltimore made a massive mistake. And that mistake could be the Commanders' golden opportunity. Harbaugh isn't just any coach. This is a guy who took the Ravens to the playoffs 10 times as head coach. 10. You know what that means? That means consistency. That means he knows how to build a winning culture. That means he knows how to run an organization from top to bottom dot. And here's what nobody is talking about. Harbaugh is a master at developing quarterbacks. Joe Flacco won a Super Bowl MVP under him. Lamar Jackson became league MVP twice with Harbaugh as his coach. And now you're telling me he wouldn't be perfect for Jayden Daniels. Because here's the truth. Daniels has the talent to be the best quarterback this franchise has ever had. Better than Theismann. Better than Williams. Better than anyone who's ever worn burgundy and gold. But talent alone isn't enough. He needs the right coach. Someone who gets his game, who can elevate his strengths, who can protect him from his weaknesses. Now, here's the part nobody's saying out loud. Adam Peters has to do his job. And his job isn't to be loyal to Dan Quinn. His job is to ask himself, do I have the best possible coach for Jayden Daniels? Because if there's an NY doubt, even for a second, then Peters needs to pick up the phone and call Harbaugh. And you know what's wild? The Commanders already cleaned house. Kingsbury's gone. Witt's gone. The coaching staff is wide open. It's like the universe is telling Peters, here's your shot. The door's open. Think about it. Harbaugh would walk into a team with Jayden Daniels, one of the most talented QBs this league has seen in years. He'd have new owners building a brand new stadium. He'd have Adam Peters, a GM respected across the league. And he'd have full control of the coaching staff. You don't think that's appealing? But here's the part that gets me fired up, the timing. Harbaugh didn't become available in February when most teams already had their coaches. No, he's available now, right when the Commanders are rebuilding their staff. It almost feels like this was meant to happen. I'm telling you right now, if I were Harbaugh, I'd be looking at Washington thinking, this is perfect, because this isn't just a good job. It's a dream job. It's a chance to build something from the ground up with resources, with talent, with stability. And let's talk about stability, because that's huge. The new Commanders owners aren't Dan Snyder. They're not going to be meddling in football decisions. They're not going to be stirring up drama. They're going to let the GM and head coach do their jobs. And for a coach like Harbaugh, who comes from a stable organization like the Ravens, that's priceless. But here's the million-dollar question. Does Adam Peters have the guts to make the call? Because it's one thing to say Dan Quinn is our guy, and a whole different thing to pass on John Harbaugh because you're scared to make a tough decision. And you know what worries me? Other teams are already calling. Adam Schefter's reporting that teams with shaky head coaches are making moves. The Jets are interested. The Saints are calling. The Jaguars are sniffing around. Are the Commanders just going to sit back and watch someone else scoop up Harbaugh? Picture this. Harbaugh as head coach, Todd Monken as OC working with Jaden Daniels. You realize what that would mean? One of the best QB developers in the game, working with one of the most electric young talents we've seen. Monken already proved he can unlock a young QB's potential with Lamar Jackson in Baltimore. The chemistry's already there, Dot. And here's another thing nobody's talking about, the salary cap. The Commanders have space. They've got the money to bring in whatever coordinators Harbaugh wants. They've got the flexibility to build the roster his way. Not many teams can offer that, Dot. Now, I'm not saying Dan Quinn is trash. What I'm saying is, if PETERS is walking into next season thinking this is Quinn's last shot, then why? Waste another year? Why roll the dice when John Harbaugh is right there? Because here's the uncomfortable truth. Quinn had a 12-5 season. Yeah, but he also had a 5-12 season. And when things got tough, when Daniels got hurt, the team fell apart. Is that what we want for our franchise QB? Or do we want someone who's proven they can keep a team competitive no matter what? So what do y'all think? Should PETERS at least make the call? Or do we ride with Quinn and hope for the best? Because I'm telling you, chances like this don't come around often. And if we let Harbaugh walk to another team, we're going to be kicking ourselves for the next 10 years. If that last one shocked you, wait till you hear this. Because now we're diving into why Cliff Kingsbury is no longer with the Commanders. And trust me, the story runs way deeper than we thought. Grant Powelson from 106.7, the Fan dropped something that a lot of us suspected, but nobody wanted to say out loud. Dan Quinn had serious issues with Kingsbury. And we're not talking about little disagreements. We're talking about fundamental clashes over how to run the offense. The main issue? Run-pass balance. Quinn wanted more balance. Kingsbury wanted to open things up. And when you've got a quarterback like Jaden Daniels, who can do both at an elite level, that debate becomes critical. But here's what really gets under my skin. In 2024, everything was working. The Commanders were 5th in points, 7th in total. Yards. Jaden Daniels had a historic rookie season. 3,568 passing yards, 25 touchdowns, 891 rushing yards. And now they're saying the system was broken? I think this has more to do with 2025 than 2024. Because when Daniels got hurt and only played 7 games, the offense fell apart. They dropped to 22nd in yards and points. And someone had to take the fall. But let me ask you this. Is it fair to blame Kingsbury when your franchise QB only played 7 games? Is it fair to fire him after putting together one of the best offensive seasons in recent franchise history? Because here's the reality. Quinn wants a coordinator who runs a traditional offense. And you know what that means. More running, less creativity, less of what made Daniels special in the first place. Now, I get where Quinn's coming from. He's old school. He wants to control the clock, play dominant defense, win games 24-17. But is that the best way to unlock Jaden Daniels' full potential? I'm telling you right now, no doubt, and here's what worries me even more. Quinn's philosophy versus the reality of today's NFL. Look around the league. The teams winning Super Bowls have explosive offenses. The Chiefs with Mahomes. The Bengals with Burrow. The Eagles with Hurts. What do they all have in common? Offensive coordinators who aren't afraid to let their QBs cook. And what did Kingsbury do in 2024? Exactly that. He gave Daniels the freedom to use his legs, to make plays off script, to attack, and it worked. It worked so well that Daniels was an MVP candidate as a rookie. Now look at what happened in 2025. Daniels threw for just 1,262 yards in 7 games. 8 touchdowns, 3 picks, 278 rushing yards. Those numbers are good, but they're not MVP level like the year before. And you know why? Because the offense. wasn't built to maximize his strengths. And now Quinn wants less of what worked and more of what didn't. But here's the part nobody is talking about: the impact on Daniels' development. Because when you change offensive coordinators after a QB's rookie season, you're playing with fire. You risk confusing him, slowing his growth, creating inconsistency in his game. Look at what happened to other young QBs who had early coordinator changes. Sam Darnold had 3 different OCS in his first 3 years with the Jets. What happened? His development stalled. He never reached his potential. Baker Mayfield had 4 in 4 years. Same story, and now the Commanders are doing the same thing with Daniels. After a historic rookie season, they're flipping the whole system. Does that make sense to you? Because to me, it doesn't. Here's my fear. They bring in a conservative coordinator. They put Daniels in a box, and in 2 years we're all asking, what happened to the guy we saw in 2024? We've seen this movie before. Talented young QBs ruined by systems that didn't fit them. And if Quinn is more focused on his philosophy than on Daniels' development, then we've got a problem. And here's another thing: the relationship between Kingsbury and Daniels. It wasn't just coordinator and quarterback. It was mentor and student. Kingsbury was the one who convinced Daniels he could be special in the NFL. He was the one who designed plays around his strengths. He was the one who protected him when others wanted to limit his running. And now what? They bring in a new coordinator who doesn't know Daniels, who doesn't understand his game, who wants to install HA system instead of building around Daniels. I think Quinn made a mistake, a big one, because when you've got something that works in a offense that was top 5 in points, a QB who was an MVP candidate as a rookie, you don't blow it up. You build on it. You make it better. But you don't tear it down. Do you trust Quinn to find the right coordinator? Or do you think this firing was a mistake? Because I've got my doubts. And if Harbaugh is on the table, those doubts get even louder. And just when you thought we were done, we've got to talk about a problem that could cost the Commanders millions to fix. The tight end position. Zach Ertz tore his ACL near the end of the season. And at his age, with that kind of injury, the odds of him coming back strong are low, real low. And now that Kingsbury, the coach Ertz came here to play for, is gone, those odds just dropped even more. Adam Peters said it straight up. I don't anticipate he'll be ready at the start of the season. Translation: we need a plan B, and that plan B is going to cost money. But here's what a lot of people don't get. Ertz wasn't just a tight end. He was Jaden Daniels' safety blanket. He was the guy who was always open on third down. He was the veteran who knew exactly where to be and when to be there. Peters nailed it when he said, Zach is a Hall of Fame caliber player who's elite in the passing game. Jaden knows where he's going to be, when he's going to be there, and trusts he'll catch the ball. That trust, that chemistry, that reliability, it's not easy to replace. And now the Commanders have to figure it out. Because here's the truth. Ertz wasn't the fastest. He wasn't the most athletic. He wasn't going to break tackles and take it 60 yards. But he was the smartest. He read defenses better than anyone. He always found the soft spot in the zone. And he never dropped a third down pass. And for a rookie QB like Daniels, that was priceless. Because when plays broke down, when protection failed, when nothing else was working, Daniels knew he could look over the middle and Ertz would be there. Check. The 2024 stats. On third down, Ertz had a 78% catch rate. 78? That's insane. And on third and long, that number jumped to 82%. You know what that means. He was automatic. Now, let's talk internal options. John Bates, Ben Sinnott, Colson Yankoff. All solid players. Bates is one of the best blocking tight ends in the league. Sinnott is developing. Yankoff is versatile. But none of them have proven to be that reliable pass-catching weapon Daniels needs. Bates is an elite blocker. When you need to run the ball or add protection, he's your guy. But as a receiver, He's limited. In 2025, he had just 18 catches. 18. All season. That's not enough. Sinnott has potential. He's young, athletic, has good hands. Peters even said, he improved a lot this year, and he's got another level. He can reach, but is he ready to be TE1? Is he ready to be Daniels' go-to guy? I don't think so. Not yet. Yankoff is interesting. He's versatile, plays multiple roles, great on special teams. But as a receiving tight end, he hasn't shown much. He's more of a situational guy than a starter. I think Peters is going to have to hit free agency. And here's the interesting part. He said the free agent tight end class is super heavy this year. Translation: there are options, but those options won't come cheap. Because when the market is super heavy, prices go up, desperate teams overpay. And the Commanders, with Daniels heading into his second full year, can't afford to miss. Think about it. If they bring in the wrong tight end, Daniels loses his safety valve. If there's no reliable third down target, the offense stalls. And if the offense stalls, Quinn's whole plan falls apart. Now here's my question. Why didn't they develop Sinnott better? The guy was a draft pick. He had all year to learn the system. And Peter said he improved a lot. But did he improve enough to be the starter? Because if not, why draft him? And here's another question. If they're going to spend big on a tight end in free agency, what positions are they? Gonna sacrifice? Because the salary cap isn't infinite. And the Commanders have a lot of needs. They need help on the offensive line. Daniels' protection was shaky in 2025. They need to upgrade the secondary. The corners got cooked all year. They need linebacker depth. And now they need a top-tier tight end. How are they going to balance all that? Look at the Commanders' cap space. They've got around $45 million to work with. Sounds like a lot, right? But once you break it down, it's not. A top-tier tight end will cost between $8 and $12 million per year. A solid offensive tackle, 12 to 15. A legit cornerback, 10 to 14. See the problem? I'm telling you, this decision will shape the 2026 offense. Because if Daniels doesn't have someone he can trust, we're going to see the same issues we saw in 2025 after Ertz went down. And here's what scares me. That Peters settles for a cheap option. That he says, let's give Sinnott a shot. Or let's bring in a vet on a 1-year minimum deal. That's not going to cut it. Not with Daniels. Not with the expectations we've got. Peters has to get this right. He needs to find someone who's not just good, but perfect for the system. And with a new offensive coordinator coming in, that decision gets even trickier. Because here's the reality. The new OC is going to want HI's kind of tight end. He's going to want someone who fits his system. And if Peters signs the wrong guy before hiring the OC, they're going to have a problem. What if they bring in a blocking tight end when the new OC wants a receiving threat? Or vice versa. That's a waste of money. That's a mistake that could tank the season. I think the smartest move is to wait. Hire the offensive coordinator first. Sit down with him, understand his vision, figure out what kind of tight end he needs, then hit the market, whether it's the draft or free agency. But here's the catch. If they wait too long, the best free agent tight ends will be gone. Teams like the Chargers, Patriots, Titans, they all need help at tight end. And they've got money to spend. Do you trust Peters to find the right tight end? Or do you think they should roll with Sinnott? Because this decision could make or break the 2026 season. So let's recap. Harbaugh is available. Kingsbury got fired over clashes with Quinn. And there's a massive hole at tight end that could cost millions to fix. These three stories are connected. Because if Peters brings in Harbaugh, everything changes. The offensive coordinator changes. The philosophy changes. The roster needs change. But if they stick with Quinn, then they've got to trust he'll find the right coordinator, the right tight end, and that everything will go off without a hitch. I'm telling you, this is the most important moment of the offseason. The decisions Peters makes in the next few weeks will shape the next 5 years of this franchise. Do you trust Quinn? Or do you think Peters should go after Harbaugh? What tight end do you want to see in burgundy and gold? Do you believe in Senate, or would you rather bring in a veteran? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And if you want to be part of this community, this family that lives and breathes burgundy and gold every single day, then subscribe, because tomorrow we've got more news, more breakdowns, and more exclusive content you don't want to miss. This is just the beginning of the wildest offseason we've seen in years. And you do not want to be left out. And remember, hail to the Redskins.